Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Parliament to hold special session on India's first astronaut aboard the International Space Station, Shubhanshu Shukla, and the critical role of the space program for Viksit Bharat 2047. India and China eye rebooting border trade as Foreign Ministers Wang Yi and Dr. S. Shankar set to hold key talks in New Delhi today. Zelenskyy and key European leaders head to the United States for talks on Ukraine peace deal. Trump says retaking Russia-occupied Crimea or joining NATO are off the table. And in tennis, world number one Jannik Sinner to face Carlos Alcaraz in the Cincinnati Open final. The monsoon session of Indian Parliament is underway. The Lok Sabha, the lower house, is holding a special discussion on Monday about India's space journey and the historic mission of Indian Air Force Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, who recently went to the International Space Station. The debate is going to focus on India's first astronaut aboard the ISS, the critical role of space program for Viksit Bharat 2047. The discussion is being initiated by Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju said Captain Shukla returned home after a successful mission to the International Space Station, and the Parliament will honour him with a special discussion on achieving this historic milestone. So the discussion, a special discussion on the historic mission of Indian Air Force Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, whom we call Gagan Yatre, is in New Delhi now, and he has recently been to the International Space Station, the first Indian astronaut to do so. He's made the whole country proud, and this discussion in the lower house of Indian Parliament today is going to honour the achievements of Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla. And as we await the visuals of the discussion, let me quickly go over to our space expert, Ratan Srivastava, joining us on the show now. Welcome, Ratanji, to the program. On a general level, how critical is the role of India's space program for achieving the goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047?
Am I audible? Thank you, Tanvi. We are discussing right now the achievement of Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla to the space station. But one of the things is this, that he is not the only person. There are 3 astronauts or Gagannauts which have been selected by the Government of India through a very rigorous process to be a part of the Gaganyaan mission that we will undertake probably in a couple of years from now. But having said that, the mission that Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla undertook on Axiom 4 is going to be helpful to us going forward, because this is the first time that we have a person who has gone on a human-rated craft, and he has been a part of the human-rated craft missions over there, conducted experiments such as microgravity experiments, the medical experience, health monitoring, as well as the experience that he has done of growing food in the space station, and the data collection that he has done. All these things have given up a hands-on experience of how to operate in space and how to operate in a mission where we probably would have the benefit of the hindsight of the experience that he has had in the mission. That's just one part of it. The other part of it is this, that he will bring a wealth of knowledge to ISRO and ISRO's future missions, which will be happening probably from the end of this year for Gaganyaan's uncrewed missions before the human-rated missions or the crewed missions happen. We are planning for at least 2 uncrewed missions before the crewed missions happen. And therefore, the experience that he brings from microgravity and space is going to be helpful to ISRO to plan these missions as well. In addition, the mission that we are planning for Chandrayaan 4 for the lunar surface is also going to benefit from the experience of the experiments that he has conducted in microgravity while being at the space station for the 18 days that he has been. And the only Indian to be in the space station after 40 years.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ratan. Request you to stay with us as we now go to the live visuals coming from the lower house of Indian Parliament, where Dr. Jitendra Singh is addressing the house.
जब देश अंतरिक्ष की उपलब्धियों का उत्सव मना रहा है, तो विपक्ष हमारी अंतरिक्ष की उपलब्धियों के लिए अंतरिक्ष से जुड़े विशेषज्ञों को और वैज्ञानिकों को बधाई देने में भी असफल हैं और उसके लिए तैयार नहीं। आपकी नाराजगी सरकार के साथ हो सकती है, आपकी नाराजगी भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए के साथ हो सकती है, परंतु हैरत है आपकी नाराजगी एक अंतरिक्ष यात्री, एक गगन यात्री के साथ भी हो सकती है। और वो एक ऐसा अंतरिक्ष यात्री जो एस्ट्रोनॉट होने के साथ साथ भारतीय वायुसेना का एक अनुशासनबद्ध सिपाही भी है। उसका ताल्लुक ना किसी राजनीतिक दल से है, ना किसी राजनीतिक पार्टी के साथ। आपको बार बार संसदीय मंत्री जी की ओर से अपील की गई, स्पीकर अध्यक्ष जी की ओर से अपील की गई, लेकिन ये अजीब मंजर है अध्यक्ष जी, आप धरती से भी नाराज हैं, आप आकाश से भी नाराज हैं और आज आप अंतरिक्ष से भी नाराज दिखते हैं। और एक चिकित्सक होने के नाते, मेडिकल डॉक्टर होने के नाते मैं ये मनस्थिति समझ सकता हूं अध्यक्ष जी। ये नाराजगी उस समय वाक़या होती है जब आदमी हताश होकर जाता है, जब आदमी निराशा से बेहाल हो जाता है, तो वो दर हकीकत नाराजगी किसी और से नहीं होती, नाराजगी अपने आप से होती है। आज जो विपक्ष जिस तरह का प्रदर्शन कर रहा है, ये उनकी अपने प्रति नाराजगी का इजहार है, क्योंकि वो हर अपने मंसूबे में विफल हैं, उनकी कोई बात नहीं बन पा रही। फिर भी मैं अपनी बात रखने से पहले, ताकि कहीं ये संदेश ना जाए कि हमारी ओर से पर्याप्त प्रयास ना हो, पूरी विनम्रता से सर झुका करके ये अपील करूंगा सदन के तमाम साथियों से, विपक्ष वालों से भी, कि यदि आपको सरकार का या देश का लिहाज नहीं तो कम से कम इन अंतरिक्ष की उपलब्धियां प्राप्त करने वाले विशेषज्ञों के लिए आप इस चर्चा में भाग लें, वापस आएं। अहमद फराज का एक बड़ा मशहूर शेर है कि किस किस को सुनाएंगे जुदाई का सबब हम, किस किस को सुनाएंगे जुदाई का सबब हम, तू मुझसे खफा है तो ज़माने के लिए आ, और किस किस को सुनाएंगे हम तुम्हारे शोरो गल का सबब, तू मुझसे नाराज है तो शुभांशु के लिए आ। बहरहाल दुनिया किसी के रोकने से नहीं रुकती, बहारें फिर भी आती हैं, बहारें फिर भी आएंगी। विकसित भारत की ये तेज रफ्तार यात्रा यूं ही चलती रहेगी, इसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता। और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के दृढ़ निश्चय और दृढ़ संकल्प को कोई हिला नहीं सकता। Nobody can shaken the courage and courage of conviction of Prime Minister Modi. Having said that,
so the special discussion on Shubhanshu Shukla's space journey and the overall importance of our space program for Viksit Bharat 2047 continuing in the lower house of Parliament. The opposition MPs creating a ruckus as was expected and are not joining in paying their honour and tribute to Shubhanshu Shukla. Let me quickly go over to my correspondent joining me from the Parliament House in New Delhi, Dibendu Mondal. Dibendu, as was expected, opposition not united with the government here in paying the much-deserved recognition to astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla.
Well, Tanvi, absolutely. We heard Union Minister Jitendra Singh appealing to the opposition parties to join in this discussion of something remarkable feat that Shubhanshu Shukla, an Indian Air Force officer, group captain, has achieved. This is perhaps a very rare moment for a pride for every Indian, that an Indian had gone to the International Space Station after many, many decades. So therefore, this also brings out the fact that Indian government's commitment towards, exploring the International Space Station and the international space, and also the success of ISRO. So therefore, a debate was planned from the government side that is currently, as we speak, underway in the lower house of Parliament, which is the Lok Sabha. And, it is appealed from the government's side that all opposition parties should take part in this discussion, which is, celebrating the achievement of every Indian who has contributed towards the growth and development of this country. And of course, celebrating Shubhanshu Shukla's achievement of, being one of the few Indians. Of course, I think he's the second Indian to ever be on the International Space Station. So therefore, celebrating that achievement should be done without politics, keeping politics aside, and also keeping personal prejudices aside. So therefore, the appeal from the government's side is that the opposition should join in. They can keep their ruckus outside the parliament. They should participate in a healthy debate, celebrating the achievements of India for every and something which every Indian should be proud of. So therefore, this discussion is currently underway. This discussion is expected to continue over the day today. Several, in fact, members of parliament will be participating in this debate. And it is expected that despite the opposition ruckus that is currently underway in both, in fact, in the lower house of parliament, the debate is likely to continue. Tanvi.
Okay, yes, Dibyendu, let me just correct you there. Yes, Shubhanshu Shukla is the first Indian to visit the ISS and the second Indian to be in space after Indian Air Force Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma. Thank you very much for bringing us up to speed at regarding what is happening in the lower house. Let me quickly go back to Ratan Srivastava, renowned space expert who continues to be with us. Sir, keeping politics aside, let's just talk about our space program. Do we at present have enough skilled and trained manpower required for speeding ahead with our ambitious space program, and what is being done to augment it?
Thank you, Tanvi. The first question, I would divide this question in two parts. There are two things to it. Resources can be human, technical, or technical resources also require financial resources. As far as human resources are concerned, we are in a situation today that we probably have the best trained human resources available within the country, thanks to the efforts made by the ISRO in the past few decades. We are one of the few countries which has a space university. We have the Indian Institute of Space Technology in Thiruvananthapuram, which is a feeder pipeline for the scientists and the technologists available to ISRO and various ISRO laboratories. We also have a system now where there is a Defense Space Agency which works very closely with ISRO. So as far as human missions are concerned, or where we require the experience of fighter pilots, and a lot of people say why we need fighter pilots to go into human missions. It's a very long, complicated story, but suffice it to say that they are medically as well as psychologically fit to undertake such perilous missions. So these two parts have been taken care of. Now the third part, which is very important, is the financial resources and the policy for that. So the financial resources that have been allocated to ISRO for various missions in the past 10 years have been continuously increasing. If you look at the budget allocation for ISRO, it is not something that we can say that we have not made efforts. We have made efforts in the Indian budget as well as the private capital which has been flowing to it. So we today probably have more than 400 startups. If we compare this to, let's say, 5 years back or even 7-8 years back, it was in double digits. And today we are nearing around 500. So these startups have been funded by venture capitalists, by people who believe in the Indian technological prowess, as well as people who have been mentoring the young scientists and the young, I would say, technologists who are setting up these kind of startups of India. The incubation done by the IITs can also not be underscored. They have done a lot of work to help the budding technologists incubate their ideas within the IITs, and the funding is available within the IIT for that. So that these are the people who have given birth to companies like the Skyroot or the Agnikul or the Pixel or the Sature. So I think we have a very buzzing and a very exciting journey ahead for Indian space, based upon the technology, the financial resources, and the missions that have been planned by ISRO as well as the private sector.
Yes, exciting times ahead indeed. Astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla is also expected to call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. We look forward to that meeting as well. Thank you very much, Ratan Srivastava for being with us and shedding light on this critical role of India's space sector in achieving our goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047. Thank you for being with us. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan to be the NDA candidate for the vice presidential election. Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomes the decision. Heavy damage reported to infrastructure in 2 separate incidents of cloudbursts in Jammu and Kashmir. Hurricane Erin re-strengthens into a Category 4 storm as it lashes the Caribbean with rain. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will be on a 2-day visit to India from Monday. Member of the Politburo of the Communist Party of China, and the Chinese Foreign Minister is visiting India at the invitation of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. During his visit, Wang Yi will hold the 24th round of the Special Representatives' talks on the India-China boundary question with India's special representatives and NSA Ajit Doval. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will also hold a bilateral meeting with his Chinese counterpart in New Delhi. So resumption of border trade is going to be one of the likely topics on the agenda. Moving on now. The National Democratic Alliance NDA on Sunday named Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan as its candidate for the post of Vice President of India, weeks after Jagdeep Dhankar stepped down from the post. The election is slated for September 9th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised NDA candidate for the vice presidential election, C.P. Radhakrishnan, for his extensive work at the grassroots level. Sharing a photo with him on social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote, and I quote the Prime Minister here, "In his long years in public life, C.P. Radhakrishnan Ji has distinguished himself with his dedication, humility and intellect. During the various positions he's held, he's always focused on community service and empowering the marginalized. He has done extensive work at the grassroots in Tamil Nadu. I'm glad that the NDA family has decided to nominate him as the vice presidential candidate of our alliance." Unquote. With proven leadership across diverse roles, C.P. Radhakrishnan brings rich political and administrative experience with him. C.P. Radhakrishnan is a seasoned Indian politician who began his career at the age of 16 in 1974, joining the Bharatiya Janasangh in Tamil Nadu. By 1996, he was Tamil Nadu's BJP secretary, showcasing leadership. In 2003, he addressed the United Nations on disaster relief. He served as the Jharkhand governor in 2023 and as Telangana governor Puducherry Lieutenant Governor in 2024. At present, he has been serving as the Governor of Maharashtra since 2024. His focus there has been on education and tribal welfare. So the Vice President of India holds the second highest constitutional office in the country after the President. The role is both legislative and executive in nature. The Vice President is ex officio Chairman of the Upper House of the Indian Parliament. The Vice President presides over its sessions, maintains order and decorum, and ensures parliamentary rules and procedures are followed. He plays a crucial role in deciding on points of order and can exercise a casting vote in case of tie, unlike the Speaker of the lower house. If the President of India resigns, is removed or passes away or is otherwise unable to discharge duties, the Vice President acts as the acting President until a new one is elected. The Vice President is not a member of either of the Houses of Parliament. However, being the chairperson of Rajya Sabha, the Vice President has to play a crucial role in ensuring smooth lawmaking. Now let's bring you up to speed on how the Vice President election are held in the country. Well, the Election Commission has announced the schedule for the 17th Vice Presidential election. The Vice President is elected by members of both Houses of Parliament through proportional representation using the single transferable vote system with voting conducted by secret ballot. Candidates must be Indian citizens, at least 35 years old and eligible for the Rajya Sabha. Electors rank candidates by marking preferences numerically on the ballot paper. The first preference votes are counted and a quota to win is calculated by halving the total valid votes and adding one. Any candidate meeting or exceeding this quota is declared elected. On to the weather front now. Moderate to heavy rainfall lashed most parts of Jammu and Kashmir on Monday, prompting the Meteorological Department to issue a weather warning for heavy rain and thunderstorms across the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir till Tuesday. Authorities have cautioned people about the risk of cloud bursts, flash floods, landslides, mudslides, and shooting stones, especially in vulnerable areas. The warning comes in the wake of recent flash floods triggered by cloudbursts in Kathua and Kishtwar districts of Jammu province, where around 70 lives were lost and over 100 were injured, along with damage and destruction to large physical infrastructure. In line with the forecast, several districts have received heavy showers since morning, and parts of the Kashmir Valley also witnessed moderate to intense rainfall accompanied by gusty winds. As a precautionary measure, educational institutions in Jammu were closed for the day and the Vaishno Devi pilgrimage was also put on hold. The Srinagar-Jammu National Highway has also been shut for traffic following heavy rains that triggered landslides, halting vehicular movement until the road is cleared. Now, in continuation with relief efforts at Kishtwar's Chishoti village, the Indian Army has successfully constructed a temporary bridge over Chishoti Nala to ensure the smooth movement of people after the cloudburst. Engineer bridging teams of the White Knight Corps assisted in the construction of the bridge at the site. This bridge will restore connectivity and help in speeding up evacuation in close coordination with civil agencies. Functionaries of the Indian Army at various levels are monitoring the relief operations on ground. Synergistic efforts in concert with civilian agencies are aimed at maximizing savings of lives and immediate provision of relief to those in need. In Himachal Pradesh, multiple flash floods struck the northern Indian state of Mandi district on Sunday, disrupting connectivity along the Mandi-Kulu stretch of the Chandigarh-Manali National Highway. The Chandigarh-Manali National Highway has been closed since Sunday afternoon, with continuous efforts underway to reopen the route. The highway is expected to be cleared by Monday noon. Meanwhile, the Mandi to Kulu route via Katola is also blocked near Kannauj, leaving hundreds of vehicles and travellers stranded on both sides. Authorities have cautioned that intermittent rainfall in the coming days may worsen conditions and have urged people to avoid travel through vulnerable stretches. Heavy monsoon rains have thrown life out of gear across Maharashtra, causing floods, waterlogging and traffic disruption in several districts. Rivers are overflowing in Ratnagiri, Sangli and Kolhapur. While homes were submerged in Nanded's Mukhed Taluka, 7 gates of the Radhanagari Dam were opened early Monday due to continuous rainfall. Authorities have issued warnings to residents living near riverbanks to remain alert. In Mumbai, continuous rain has led to severe waterlogging in low-lying areas and affecting roads, trains and bus services. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued red alert for Mumbai on August 18th and 19th, warning of extremely heavy rainfall. Schools have been shut. The National Disaster Response Force NDRF is on standby and citizens are urged to stay indoors and follow the safety instructions. And on to news about international weather scenario. Hurricane Erin, the first major storm of an anticipated intense Atlantic season, re-strengthened into Category 4 hurricane late Sunday with maximum sustained winds of 215 kilometers per hour. Located 130 miles east of Grand Turk Island, Erin is expected to pass northeast of the Turks and Caicos and southeastern Bahamas by Monday, bringing heavy rains, flash floods and landslides. The National Hurricane Center warns of up to 6 inches of rain and life-threatening surf along the region. As per Turks and Caicos Islands, the regiment's Facebook post, the photographs showed the Turks and Caicos Islands regiment deploying troops to aid in Hurricane Erin relief efforts. Meanwhile, Europe is on track for its worst wildfire season on record, along with deadly heat waves. Spain is battling 20 major wildfires fueled by extreme heat exceeding 40 degrees Celsius and strong winds, darkening skies with thick smoke in Asturias and complicating firefighting efforts. The blazes among southern Europe's worst in 20 years have killed 7 people and scorched hectares of land almost the size of London. Spain's state meteorological agency has issued extreme fire risk alerts for the north and west of Spain. Spanish Minister Pedro Sanchez, visiting Galicia, warned of difficult days ahead. As Spain enters its 3rd week of heat wave alerts, Sanchez has announced a national pact for climate emergency.
We need to make a fundamental consideration, a strategy that anticipates a better response, one that is more protective and more secure for our fellow citizens in the face of the worsening and accelerating effects of the climate emergency in our country. And that requires a major national pact on the climate emergency that leaves the climate emergency out of the partisan struggles and ideological issues so that we can focus on the scientific evidence and act accordingly. The clear answer to having fires of this magnitude now, to having cold drops like we are having in autumn or winter, is that the climate emergency ravaging the world is accelerating, becoming more serious and more frequent.
Meanwhile, relatives gathered outside a morgue in Bunair on Sunday to receive the bodies of the victims of deadly flooding in northwestern Pakistan. As per the National Disaster Management Authority, the death toll from the rains across the mountainous north of Pakistan had risen to at least 337 people on Sunday, with most killed in flash floods. In Bunair, 207 lives were lost and others are still missing. Bunair was hit by a cloudburst, a rare phenomena where more than 100 millimeters of rain falls within an hour in a small area. Officials stated more heavy rain was expected across Pakistan until early September. You're watching DD India News. Are still to come on the show. Bolivian voters hope for change after 20 years of socialism as the presidential race heads to runoff between centrist and right-wing candidates. Trial of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai resumes amidst his deteriorating health concerns.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A reminder of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Parliament holds special session on India's first astronaut aboard the ISS, Shubhanshu Shukla, and critical role of the space program by Viksit Bharat by 2047. India and China eye rebooting border trade as Foreign Ministers Wang Yi and Dr. S. Jaishankar set to hold key talks in New Delhi today. Zelenskyy and key European leaders head to the United States for talks on Ukraine peace deal. Trump says retaking Russian-occupied Crimea or joining NATO are off the table. So as top European leaders are going to join Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Washington today for a crucial meeting with US President Donald Trump, the Ukrainian president is hoping that the joint strength of the US and Europe will compel Russia for peace. But Trump says President Zelenskyy can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is due to meet US President Donald Trump in Washington on Monday. Upon his arrival, Zelenskyy expressed hope that the joint strength with the US and European counterparts will compel Russia to peace. In a social media post, the Ukrainian leader thanked President Trump for the invitation, saying we all share a strong desire to end this war quickly and reliably, and peace must be lasting. Joining Zelenskyy for the crucial meeting are top European leaders including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. The leaders are hoping to reinforce Ukraine's position and ensure that any proposed peace deal doesn't undermine Kiev's sovereignty or long-term security.
With regards to any territorial questions in Ukraine, our position is clear. International borders cannot be changed by force. These are decisions to be made by Ukraine and Ukraine alone. And these decisions cannot be taken without Ukraine at the table.
Au fond, notre volonté demain, c'est de...
Ultimately, our desire tomorrow is to present a united front between Europeans and Ukrainians at this moment of conflict resolution, reaffirming who is on the side of peace, who is on the side of international law. But above all, how can we collectively ensure that the international order is respected and that our collective security is protected, because the security of Europeans and France depends on it. There can be no territorial discussion regarding Ukraine without the legitimate, democratically elected leaders of Ukraine. No discussion about Ukraine without the Ukrainians. But in the same way, there can be no discussion about the European security without them.
Même notre pays.
But the path to that peace remains uncertain, as just hours before the summit, President Trump posted on social media saying Zelenskyy could choose to end the conflict almost immediately, but warned that Kiev's goals of retaking Crimea or joining NATO are off the table. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff earlier said that President Trump is considering offering Ukraine NATO-like security guarantees and that Russia is open to the idea. He added that Trump and Putin had reached an unexpected understanding that the United States and European allies could extend NATO-style security guarantees to Ukraine.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
The high-profile meeting follows Trump's talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, where the two leaders agreed on the need for a peace deal without a prior ceasefire that Ukraine and its European allies had demanded. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Russia continues to slow advance, with President Putin reiterating his commitment to continue fighting until his military objectives are achieved. Ukraine, on the other hand, remains hopeful that the changing technological nature of the conflict and its ability to inflict massive casualties on Moscow, supported by European financial and military support, will allow it to hold out even if relations with Washington collapse. Expectations, however, remain high as leaders meet to map out a peace deal. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now let's bring in Dr. Rajan Kumar, School of International Studies, JNU, New Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Rajan, to the show. Well, in recent days, it seems it has become increasingly important to bring a swift end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Your views on the crucial Trump-Zelenskyy meet today?
This is very interesting, the kind of statements which are coming. Now, President Trump is saying that, Zelenskyy can end the war immediately. Earlier, if you remember, he said that when he becomes president, he'll end the war in just one day, 24 hours. So how, he's trying to ratchet up pressure on Ukraine. And, there are a few issues where there is consensus. First issue is that now Crimea is off the table, which means, there'll be no discussion about Crimea at all. And in a way, Trump has said that Crimea is essentially a part of Russia now. So that's off the table. Second, he is saying that no NATO membership to Ukraine. So again, this issue will not be discussed with the European members. So the reason why Ukraine went to war was for the NATO membership, but now he's saying that there'll be no NATO membership. But one positive thing about Ukraine is that Trump is also saying that there'll be some kind of security guarantee. What kind of security guarantee there would be, we don't really know because the details are not out yet. But yes, it's possible that European leaders will try to do two things. One, to have some kind of clause similar to clause 5 of NATO agreement, which talks about collective security. So not being member of NATO, but at the same time, that kind of security can be provided by the European countries, supported by United States, of course. And second, security guarantee can also be given in the form of, they call it a reassurance force, which might be deployed in Ukraine by a coalition of willings. This coalition involves Britain and France and some other European countries. So these are the issues which are likely to be discussed. But there is a fear. European leaders are in a great fear today. The fear is that what Trump might do in terms of pressurizing Ukraine to cede more territories to Russia. As you know that Russia controls completely Luhansk. Russia controls a large part, 75% of Donetsk. Russia also controls Kherson and Zaporizhia and is advancing on a day-to-day basis. So in that situation, one of the important issues from the European and Ukrainian perspective would be to have some kind of ceasefire. They have been insisting on the ceasefire because Russia is capturing territory every day. Of course, the capture of territory is very slow, but that is happening. So Ukraine is worried, Europe is worried, and that's why they want to have a ceasefire. But Trump is speaking Putin's language. He's saying that we should go for a larger peace deal rather than the ceasefire. So Ukraine and Europe together, probably they'll try to put pressure on Trump to have some kind of ceasefire and some kind of security agreement with Russia. But,
so is that the reason why the European leaders are skeptical and, as you say, fearful that, this proposed peace plan may undermine Ukraine's sovereignty?
I think, the kind of statements which have been given by European Union President Ursula von der Leyen and also some of the other European leaders. So there is a real concern that Trump has already committed some territory to Putin. Exact details are not there. Trump has tweeted, in last few hours about Crimea, etc. But what about the other territories? And we all know that Russia is not going to cede the territory that it has captured. At the same time, Ukraine cannot officially accept. Zelenskyy cannot officially accept that these territories now belong to Russia. So what kind of negotiation will take place? So what I see at this moment, because this again a meeting where President Putin is not there, so they'll try to build some consensus on three things, as I said: Crimea, some kind of security guarantee, and of course Ukraine has to agree there'll be no NATO membership in the next few years. So these are the consensus issues on which they will kind of agree at this moment. But in future they'll talk about the territories. That's what my hunch is. that territory cannot be decided as of now. And the maximalist position of Russia and Ukraine, of course, is that Ukraine will not cede the territory and Russia is not going to withdraw its forces from the territory. So a stalemate, in my view, continues, and it's going to be a long-drawn discussion and negotiation. And I don't think peace deal is likely even in this meeting or in the later meeting.
Okay. Also, another aspect, what kind of security guarantees would President Zelenskyy likely seek from President Trump in order to agree to a peace accord? And how much sanctity would they have in practice?
I think one good thing is that President Trump has committed some kind of security guarantee for Ukraine. And he has also mentioned that the earlier security guarantee which was given to Ukraine of 1994 earlier agreement, so that was not maintained by European countries. But now he is saying, he's committing that he would provide some kind of security guarantee. It can be in the form of some agreement where the United States will continue to supply weapons. United States will continue to supply weapons to Europe also, and through Europe to Ukraine. So that's one possibility. And also some kind of written commitment from Russian side that Russia will not invade Ukraine again. But Russia will agree to such conditions only when Ukraine also agrees to a few things. One is no NATO member state. Second, accepting some of the territories which are with Russia at this moment, Ukrainian territories. So they have to remain with Russia. And third, Europe and United States, they also will have to agree on lifting some of the sanctions which have been imposed on Russia. So these are the preconditions after which negotiation can take place. Otherwise, I don't see much happening despite all the people, all the officials coming together and trying to put pressure on Trump. So some consensus is there, but I don't see any consensus towards the peace deal at this point of time.
Okay, we'll have to wait and watch till tonight, Indian Standard Time. Thank you very much, Dr. Rajan Kumar, for being with us and giving us your perspective on the peace deal, proposed peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. All right, let's move on to South America now. Centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz led Bolivia's presidential election with 32.18% of the vote as per early results, setting up a historic October 19th runoff against conservative Jorge Quiroga, who secured 26.9% of votes. The Movement for Socialism faced a historic low with Eduardo del Castillo at 3.16%. Paz's surprise lead defied polls predicting Quiroga and Samuel Doria Medina, who conceded and pledged support for Paz as frontrunners. Bolivia's economy grapples with 23% inflation and dollar shortages. This is what has supposed to have driven voter discontent. Paz proposes a 50-50 economic model for decentralization, while Quiroga pushes spending cuts. Voter turnout was steady despite Evo Morales' boycott call, with no major disruptions reported.
I want to thank, through the homeland, all the men and women who have made it possible, the voice of those who had no voice, of those of us who did not appear in the surveys, of those of us who did not exist. Because what we want is to build the reconciliation of the homeland, reproduction of the homeland. We want to regain productive strength. We need to stabilize, generate governance, and create a change in the economy so that the economy belongs to the people and not the state.
Back to Asia. The closing submissions in a national security trial against Hong Kong pro-democracy businessman Jimmy Lai recommenced on Monday after his lawyer said that he had suffered heart palpitations. The court had adjourned to allow Lai, a British citizen, to obtain medication and a heart monitor. The 77-year-old has been held in solitary confinement for more than 1,700 days, with his son previously raising concerns over his deteriorating health. Lai, who founded the Apple Daily newspaper that was forced to close after a police raid and asset freeze in June 2021, has pleaded not guilty to 2 charges of conspiracy to collude with foreign forces and a charge of conspiracy to publish seditious material. His national security trial began in December 2023. And next we take a look at other stories making news across the world. Streets and corners in Hanoi, Vietnam were filled with its national flags and flowers across the streets for the upcoming 80th anniversary of the August Revolution and National Day. Millions of people across the country are turning towards the capital for the celebrations. Inner Mongolia recently held its first youth-focused Nadam festival, marking a significant step in preserving and passing down traditional Mongolian sports culture. Nadam, meaning entertainment or games in Mongolia, is a historic celebration known for showcasing traditional sports such as wrestling, archery and horse racing. In East Africa's Comoros, the production of ylang-ylang oil is becoming a major threat to ecology. The oil used in high-end perfumes is made by distilling the flowers using fires fueled by burning trees and is contributing to deforestation. Distillers urge the government to find ways and means for production to continue without destroying the environment. You're with us on DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. Indian stock markets post robust gains, Sensex Nifty up over 1% in afternoon trade. India's public service broadcaster Prasar Bharati, in collaboration with CricViz, launches the Great Indian Cricket Show. And East Bengal and Diamond Harbour FC qualified for the semi-finals of the Durand Cup.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. A look at today's business stories. First news of the stock markets. Asian share markets surged on Monday with Japan's Nikkei up 0.9% to a record high and Taiwan indices also peaking. Chinese blue chips rose 1.3%, hitting 10-month highs with quarterly gains over 8%. MSCI's Asia Pacific Index gained 0.5%. The Kansas City Fed's Jackson Hole Symposium from August 21st is in focus, with Chair Jerome Powell expected to signal balanced risks but not confirm a September cut. Markets price an 85% chance of a quarter-point cut on September 17th. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq futures rose 0.1 and 0.2% respectively, buoyed by an 11% S&P 500 EPS growth. In commodity markets, gold climbed 0.5% to $3,343 per ounce. After losing 1.9% last week, oil prices struggled as Trump backed away from threats to place more restrictions on Russian oil exports. Talking of crude oil prices, Brent crude fell 0.1% to $65.78 per barrel. The US dollar stabilized on Monday at 97.85 against a currency basket as investors await a critical meeting between President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, joined by European leaders. The dollar recovered from a 0.4% drop last week. Talking of Indian stock markets, well, they have posted strong gains on Monday as investor sentiment has improved. The sharp up move came after Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a plan for the next generation GST reforms by the festival of Diwali. So the Sensex and the Nifty jumped with the benchmark Nifty 50 index trading at 24,900, up by over 1%, while the BSE Sensex trading with a gain of 780 points a short while ago. In the broader market, the Nifty 100 index surged by 1.26%. Nifty Midcap 100 rose 1.06% and Nifty Small Cap 100 gained 1.3%. The German auto industry may be the country's best known and most important industrial sector, but is still struggling, with many companies warning of lower profits. Unions are worried that their weak performance might lead to cuts to the workforce. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Now, Lars, what are you hearing from the unions?
Thanks for having me. Well, first and foremost, that they're worried and that they're on their toes. If history is any guide, they're afraid that the large automakers, among those would be Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Porsche, that they would resort to cuts to the workforce now that profits are down again, and that would most likely be layoffs. But now the leader of the industry's biggest union, the IG Metall, says that layoffs can no longer be the go-to solution for troubled businesses, especially not for those that are listed on stock markets and pay out a handsome dividend, as case in point the auto companies do. The union says companies should cut their dividend, meaning putting their employees before their shareholders. And honestly, that would make a lot of sense. The dividend is technically a treat for shareholders after a successful business year. Now, if a year wasn't that successful, it does actually make sense not to cut within the business, but simply to refrain from paying out that reward. And that's a lot of money. Each of the big German car makers is actually paying out billions of euros in dividends every year.
Lars, what will shareholders be saying about this?
Well, it's safe to assume they won't like it, of course. But now you're getting into a moral discussion of capitalism. Who should money flow to, the worker or those who have invested capital? Now, in times of growing inequality and with wealthier people much more likely to be investors than working people are, it would be a good idea, of course, to take from investors and to secure the income of workers. It would help balance a society where for years the gap between the rich and the poor has been widening. But let's look at some examples of who auto dividends actually flow to. At Volkswagen, for example, the Porsche holding has about a third of all shares. That means a third of dividend payments. And as I said, we're talking billions of euros here. A third of that flows into that holding that's controlled by two families, Porsche and Pirch, that have long been intertwined with the company. And at BMW, half of the dividend payments go to two people, two BMW heirs. Together, they're expected to rake in 1.3 billion this year alone. So if dividends are cut, it's actually not that painful for anyone. It's actually only costing those who already have a lot of money, mostly millionaires and billionaires.
All right, we leave it here. Thank you very much, Lars Holter, reporting from DW Berlin. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sporting action. Prasar Bharati, India's public service broadcaster, in collaboration with CricViz, launched a Great Indian Cricket Show at a special premiere event in New Delhi on Monday. The event was graced by Prasar Bharati Chairman Navneet Kumar Sehgal and CEO Gaurav Dwivedi. CricViz Managing Director Michael Kivido also attended the program, along with former Indian cricketers Madan Lal, Chetan Sharma, Murli Karthik and Akash Chopra as guests of honor. The show will be aired on DD Sports every Saturday and Sunday at 8 p.m. It will also be telecasted on All India Radio, Waves OTT app and Prasar Bharati digital platforms in the coming weeks. A special screening of the selected excerpts from the upcoming show was the highlight of the event. Prasar Bharati Chairman Navneet Kumar Sehgal underlined the importance of celebrating India's cricketing heritage. Meanwhile, CEO Prasar Bharati Gaurav Dwivedi spoke about the growing role of technology, data and storytelling in sports broadcasting.
There is a sports culture now, and you take any sport, the number of medals, winnings are increasing in every game, and now we may see Commonwealth taking place here, and sometime we may see Olympic also taking place. I hope our channel, in collaboration with CricViz, at least in cricket, would give not only entertainment but also more and more information and that too interesting content about cricket in the coming days.
This program here, Great Indian Cricket Show, is being launched, and I'm sure this will bring audiences the pleasure and joy of not only the game itself, but also the records that seem to be getting broken with unfailing regularity these days. This program will not only bring the love for the sport, but also provide a lot of information to the people who are interested in the trivia about the game.
In football, East Bengal and Diamond Harbour FC have booked their spots in the semi-finals of the Durand Cup 2025. East Bengal defeated arch rivals Mohun Bagan Supergiant 2-1 in Kolkata. Greek striker Dimitros Diamantakos came off the bench to score both goals and seal the win. The 16-time Durand Cup champions will now face debutants Diamond Harbour FC in the semis. Diamond Harbour secured a huge upset, beating home side Jamshedpur FC 2-0 to storm into the semi-finals. And the stage is set in Cincinnati. World number 1 Yannick Sinner and Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz face off yet again in a final. Alcaraz and Sinner are ready to write another thrilling chapter in their careers. From Wimbledon to Cincinnati, their rivalry is rewriting the script of modern tennis. Cincinnati Open 2025 final is set to take place on Monday. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.